Welcome to the viewers for the lecture on reinforced concrete structures. So in the last few lectures, we have discussed about the analysis and design of retaining walls. Now here we will take up water tanks. Now in water tanks, depending upon the location, we have got underground tanks, we have got ground level tanks, and we have got elevated tanks. Right, elevated tanks. So depending upon the location, depending upon the shape of the tank will be rectangular in shape or square in shape, because square is a special form of rectangle, right? And the circular tanks, inch tank, and also there are number of special shapes of water tanks. So generally rectangular underground tanks, rectangular ground level tanks, rectangular elevated tanks. Underground circular tanks, ground level circular tanks, and elevated circular tanks. So like this we can just have a classification, right? Right. Now, depending upon the material, water tanks can be RCC water tanks, steel water tanks, pre-stressed concrete water tanks, and also now we have got many other materials. Now what we are going to discuss is RCC water tanks. Now specifically we are going to discuss circular tanks resting on ground, in which we have tank with a hinged base and tanks with a fixed base. Right. Then we will discuss circular tanks, elevated tanks or overhead tanks. Elevated, sometimes they will be called as elevated service reservoir, ESR. Overhead water tanks, OHT, like that. So we will discuss about elevated circular tanks. But elevated other shapes, all the shapes are there. Square, elevated square tank, elevated rectangular tank, all these things are there. We are going to discuss limit our discussion with the elevated circular tanks, right? And then we have got underground tanks. Underground tanks again can be underground circular tanks. We call it as sumps, SUMPS, sumps. So underground sumps may be circular, may be rectangular, may be square. So we are going to discuss underground rectangular tanks, and probably we will try to extend also. Right now. So what we are going to discuss is this. Right now, for design of water tanks, the code books are, we have got code books for water. So we will be requiring the use of IS 456-2000, our usual RCC code, plus there are IS code books for design of water tanks. IS 3370-2009, parts 1, 2 and 4. Part 1 discuss about the general requirements. Part 2 deals with general requirements plus the allowable stresses. What are the allowable stresses that we adopt for the design of water tanks will be different from that we do it for RCC. Suppose we use RCC, other structures, for mild steel we will use the allowable stress as 140 Newton per mm square. If it is star steel, we will assume the value as 230 Newton per mm square. Now here in the case of water tanks, in addition to the strength requirement, the water tanks will have to be watertight. Also, we are going to design some components based on cracking stress consideration. So, based on these things, the allowable stresses to be adopted for water tanks are different. Namely, say suppose if you are using uh, steel, for tar steel, it will be 130 Newton per, only 130 Newton per MOS as given in the code book. Anyway, those things we will discuss. They are discussed in part 2. And part 4 gives the design tables for all shapes of tanks. Design tables are there. So that based on what parameters we have to select the coefficients from the steel, the tables, and how to design based on the code book. That we'll discuss. So that is discussed in part 4. So, and part 3 is there, that is for pre-stressed concrete water tanks. So we will be concentrating codes 1, 2 and 4 for RCC water tanks. So that's about that. And the allowable stresses are given, and also the design tables are available as discussed. And in the design of water tanks, so we are going to follow only working stress method. Right. Now, coming to the number of forces, if we design an underground tank, then the tanks will be subjected to water pressure from inside, which is a triangular pressure diagram having a maximum value of W into H at the bottom. When it is underground, there will be earth pressure from outside, which is given by Ka into gamma into H, as we have discussed in the case of retaining walls, where Ka is the coefficient of active earth pressure. That we will have to adopt. So, depending upon the soil and depending upon the case, we have to design for the worst condition, tank empty, soil pressure outside. So it will be subjected to only soil pressure outside. The tank will be empty for cleaning or some other purpose, right? So tank full. So tank empty condition, tank full condition. So like that, there are 4 different critical cases, of which we have designed for 1 or 2 most critical cases. Anyway, that we'll discuss later. Now we are concentrating only on the forces. That is, earth pressure is a force for the design of underground tanks. Water pressure is there for underground tanks, ground level tanks and elevated tanks. Right. Then weight of different components. How to account the weight of various components in the design of water tank. Then if it is elevated tank, if it is ground level tank, no earth pressure from outside, and also we will not bother about the wind pressure. Suppose if it is an elevated water tank at a height of 15 meters, 20 meters from the ground level, then we have to account wind load also. Wind load, we have to consider the design of the tank and also particularly the supporting structure. The supporting structure, namely the columns and braces, will be subjected to wind load. So when the wind is acting from in one direction, the columns on the direction in which wind is acting is called windward columns. On the other side, the columns are called leeward columns. So we are going to analyze and design. The windward columns will be subjected to tensile force because of wind. The leeward columns will be subjected to compressive stress, compressive force due to wind. So in addition to the dead weight of column, dead weight of tank, weight of water, etc., when a column is subjected to axial compressive force, we have to account the additional compressive force due to wind also. That we have to design. And of course on the leeward side, on the windward side, the column will be subjected to tension that will reduce the amount of compressive force. Leeward columns will be subjected to additional compressive force. How to calculate them and how to design the column, etc. we are going to discuss. So that is about wind load. Also, depending upon the zone, we have to design the structure for seismic load also. Earthquake forces also has to be considered. So when you consider wind and seismic load, of the two, whichever produces the most critical case, for that you have to design. So these are the different forces: earth pressure, water pressure or water load, weight of components, wind load or seismic load. These are the different forces depending upon the location, whether it is an underground tank or ground level tank or elevated tank. Appropriate forces are to be considered and we have to design the tank. Right. Now coming to the components, it's a vast topic because uh, all components of an underground tank, all components of a ground level tank and elevate tank, depending upon the shape we have to design. Of course, of this, 50% of the design already have been dealt with in the elementary RCC or design of uh, concrete, elementary concrete structures. Right. So only we have to realize this topic will look as a very big topic, but it is not a big topic because 50% already we have done it in earlier cases. If you are going to design a column, the column design has been already discussed. Foundation design has already been discussed. Slab design has already been discussed. So how to calculate the different forces and how to apply what we have studied earlier here, that will carry more than 50%. And in the remaining 50%, we must know how to simplify the work, how to simplify what design will get repeated. So how to reduce and how to take things easy, that we have to learn. If that is learned, definitely RCC water tank will not be a big topic. I'll just tell you one by one. Right. Now, suppose we, for example, if you take the design of the roof structure, the roof for a square tank, square slab already we have designed. Design of a rectangular slab for the roof of a rectangular tank, already we have studied slab, and also beam and slab also we have studied, already discussed. Circular slab also, it is there in the early part of the syllabus. The only new thing will be that of a dome slab. Dome slab will be a spherical dome or conical dome. So that covers roof slab. Coming to the ring beam design, that is new. Side wall design. Side wall, suppose if it is a circular tank with hinged bottom or circular tank with a fixed bottom, that is new, when we learn the design of the side wall of a circular tank with a hinged bottom or circular tank with a fixed bottom for a ground level tank, that if that is learned new, the same is applicable for underground tank. Underground tank subjected to additional earth pressure. Suppose if it is overhead tank, whatever we learn in the design of the ground level tank will be repeated for overhead tank. I'll just tell you, I tell you this point. Therefore, you are not going to do a new design for the side wall of an overhead tank. Whatever we have studied for ground level tank, that has to be repeated. Right. Similarly, we have to design for a square tank. The side walls of a square tank, if it is designed for a ground level tank, the same will be applicable for overhead tank. Only when it comes to the underground, it is subjected to additional earth pressure. When it comes to overhead tank, it is subjected to additional wind force. These are the things. Similarly, beams. Suppose if it is a rectangular tank, the base slab will have to be consisting of beam and slab system. Beam and slab system is what we have already learnt. So it is only application. How to get the forces from the water tank, what are the forces acting on the beam and the slab, how to calculate the values. Design is only usual design. Then columns, foundations, all these things are known. So the new thing is how to calculate what are the components that you have studied already. After coming to water tanks, what are the designs that are common for the side wall of a water tank, what are the designs common for elevated tanks and underground tanks, what gets repeated, what are the additional forces that are to be considered. If these things are understood, we can simplify the water tank design to a very great extent and you will find it comfortable. Without relating these things, without understanding these basic differences, if we discuss water tanks, then it will be a very big topic. Ground level tank, ground level circular tank, ground level rectangular tank, ground level square tank, elevated circular tank, elevated rectangular tank means it will be difficult. Not at all. Not at all. We will discuss in a simple manner. We will introduce the subject and do the design. Right. Now, this is actually IS 3370. This is 3370 part 2. I have taken the allowable stresses here. Now these are the allowable stresses. These are the allowable stresses in concrete. So based on the cracking stress consideration, based on the cracking, so here, yes, for calculation related to resistance of cracking, the permissible stresses in concrete will be as given in the table below. Yes, these are the values. So in the case of water tanks, actually one has to be thorough with the complete code, but from examination point of view, you can just know only the things that are required, and then later we have to gradually develop, because you have to be very thorough with the pages, all the pages, thorough with all the pages of the code book. But from examination point of view, first we must start learning from what is required, and then we can just always develop. So from this table, the basic thing to be understood is, so the table starts with M25 concrete. That means we should not use concrete below M25 for water tanks. Minimum we have to use M25 concrete. For M25 concrete, we have allowable stress in direct tension, and allowable stress in bending tension. Suppose if the concrete is subjected to hoop tension, that will be a direct tension. For that, the allowable stress is 1.3 Newton per mm square. If it is subjected to bending moment, then for bending cases, the allowable stress is 1.8 Newton per mm square. So this is for M25. If you take the minimum grade of concrete, 1.3 and 1.8. One for direct tension, one for bending tension. Similarly, M30, 1.5 and 2.0. So these are the allowable stresses based on cracking stress consideration. So One is under direct tension, the other is under bending tension. So this is in page number 2 of IS 3370 part 2. Right. Yes, in the same code. So these are the allowable stresses in concrete and a compression. That is tension. This is compressive stress in concrete. So M25 bending compression, it is 8.5. Direct compression, it is 6.0. And permissible stresses in bond 0.9. So this is for M25 concrete. So bending compression and direct compression. So suppose we design a column subjected to only axial compression, then the stress will be 6.0 Newton per mm square. The same column, if it is subjected to bending moment also, bending axial load and bending, for that also for the design of the side walls, for side walls also, if it is compressive, direct compression 6, bending compression 8.5. These are the allowable stresses. Now the table here on the right hand side shows the allowable stresses in steel. So plain mild steel bars, next one is that of high strength deformed bars. Now tensile stress in members under direct tension, bending tension and also shear. For all the cases, if it is mild steel bar, the allowable stress is 115 Newton per mm square, 115 Newton per mm square. So it is not 140 as in the case of RCC. So it is 115. High strength deformed bars, the value is 130 Newton per mm square. For high strength deformed bars, in the case of RCC, we adopt 230 Newton per mm square as the allowable stress. 230, and when the diameter of bar is more than 20 mm, we go for 190 Newton per mm square. So here the values that are adopted in RCC and for water tanks, RCC other structures and RCC water tanks are different. So these values one must be familiar. So I am just giving only important points, but gradually one has to become thorough with the code book if you want to become a full-fledged civil engineer, right? So similarly compressive stress. So compressive stress in column subjected to direct load, axial load 125. If it is tar steel, it is 140. These are the allowable stresses, right? So this one has to be familiar. So these are the permissible shear stress values. Now normally permissible shear stress will be finding out based on the percentage of steel, 100 AS by BD, and the concrete grade. Concrete M20, M25, 30, 35 and 640 and above. So one is there is based on the percentage of steel and the grade of concrete, you have to find out the allowable stress, right? Anyway, we'll discuss all these values one by one as and when required. So just to introduce the code also, because we are going to design based on the code book only, right? The concrete that is used in water tanks will have to possess the required strength. And also the concrete used in water tanks will have to be watertight. Right. So previous to the revision, earlier we used M20 for water tanks. Now we are supposed to use M25 as the minimum grade of concrete. So we have to take care of the strength, water tightness, and also you have to try to prevent the shrinkage cracks. Try to prevent the shrinkage cracks, and expansion joint, contraction joint. These are all given in IS 3370 part 1 and partly in part 2. So one has to become thorough with the provisions. Now, one more point here is so these items are available very small letters in the code book. Right. Now here we will discuss about the minimum reinforcement. Yes, minimum reinforcement. This is another important point to be discussed. The minimum reinforcement in walls, floors and roofs in each of the two directions at right angles within each surface zone shall not be less than 0.35% of the surface zone. Minimum steel is 0.35%. 0.35%. Shown in figure 1 and figure 2, that viewers can just go through the code and become familiar. I am just introducing. Right. So for high strength deformed bars, 0.35%, that is for high strength deformed bars. And for mild steel, it is minimum 0.64%. So not like RCC, usual structural design, right? So 0.64% for mild steel bars. Further, the minimum reinforcement can be further reduced to 0.24%. So in our design, we have used high strength deformed bars. So we have used 0.24%. When we can use 0.24%, that you have to become familiar, because later we need not we need not come back again and discuss. So that is why I am going slowly. The minimum reinforcement can further be reduced to 0.24% of the deformed bars for deformed bars, and for 0.4% for mild steel bars. Here it is important for having any dimension not more than 15 meters. When the length of the tank or when the width of the tank is not more than 15 meters, we can take the value as 0.24%. Also, in wall slabs less than 200 mm in thickness. So wall thickness can be 150 mm or 180 mm or 250 mm. So when it is less than 200 mm thickness, the calculated amount of reinforcements may all be placed in one face. So when the thickness is less than, when we go for 180 mm thick slab, wall slab, then we have to provide only one layer of reinforcement. So the calculated amount of reinforcement may be placed in one face only. Similarly, for ground level slabs, less than 300 mm thickness, when the thickness of the slab is less than 300 mm, the calculated reinforcement should be placed in one face. When the thickness of the base slab is less than 300 mm, you have to place the reinforcement only on one side, to the upper surface. Every word is it is to be placed as near as possible to the upper surface, consistent with the nominal cover. Bar spacing should generally not exceed 300 mm or the thickness of the section, whichever is less. So these are things before starting the design. Only when we are familiar with these basics, the design, we can just do it confidently. So this minimum steel, because we are going to use star steel, our length of the wall or width of the wall is going to be less than 15 meters. Therefore, you can go for 0.24%. Otherwise, you have to go to the higher name 0.35 and 0.64 depending upon the steel. So, this is another important point. This is from IS 3370 part 4. Part 4 actually it is given as 1967. As far as the part 4 code is concerned, that is not revised. Only in the first page it is given, or the cover page it is given, IS 3370 1967 reaffirmed in 2008 or 2009. So same, that is not revised. Only in one page it will be available. Reaffirmed in 2004, reaffirmed in 2008, like that will be given. So other pages only 1967 will appear. That means the code is not revised. Code is not. So we are going to, this is table number 10. Table number 10. Actually, the table is based on, we are going to use this later. You can see the formula. Before seeing the formula, so these values, the values will have to be taken based on h square by dt ratio. So we have to find out the height, diameter and thickness. Based on h square by dt, we have to take the values from the h square by dt, maybe 6 or maybe 8 or maybe 10.5 or any value. So for different values it is given. So the vertical first column 0 to 4, 0.4, 0.8, 1.2, 2.6 up to 16. So in between values you have to interpolate and get the value. Now these coefficients will indicate what is the variation, because you have to take the maximum coefficient. Maximum coefficient. Maximum coefficient, now the formula is given on the left hand side. So it is moment coefficient equal to coefficient into W into HQ. Formula is also given. Formula is also given. Coefficient into W into HQ. So this coefficient we have to take. W is the unit weight of water. H is the height of. So for which figure is also given. Before going to the figure, at the bottom of the table we find W is the density of the liquid. Density of the liquid. And note 2. Positive sign indicates tension on the outside. Positive indicates tension on the outside, because where we have to provide the reinforcement, whether to provide the reinforcement outside or inside, because when the thickness is less than 200 mm, you are going to provide steel only on one side. Which side we have to provide? Therefore, that is also indicated here. Positive sign indicates tension on the outside. W stands for the density of the liquid. The density of, so here it is given as kilogram meter per meter. Suppose if it substitute the density in terms of newtons, then it will be Newton meter per meter. Accordingly, we have to substitute the density of the liquid in terms of newtons. So newtons, 1000 kilogram per meter cube is the weight of water, unit weight of water. If it is converted to SI units, it will be 9810, 9810 Newton per meter cube in the place of 1000, 9.81 times. Or we can take it as 10,000 as a round number. Because taking a little more value, our design will be only on the safer side. But we can take it as 10,000. Some books follow 10,000, some books follow 9,810. In one book, it is given as 9,800. Even that 10 is omitted. So that depends upon the. So that one must be aware what we are doing. One must be aware. So that's about the. I think the letters are clear. This is the information. So Right. Now coming to the figure, because without these things going to a design is meaningless. Uh, so this is the tank. They are given the tank also. So they are given the tank. What is H? What is T? What is all these values are now it is not so clear. Of course, that you can refer in the code book and because only based on this H for different heights. If it is given as 0.5h, 0.6h, 0.7h means in what direction you have to take, that arrow is also not clear. So we have to become familiar with the so these things are available in the code book also. So they are given the coefficients, they have given the formula, and also what is the case of this actually. Table 10 is moments in cylindrical water tanks, moments in cylindrical water tanks. Cylindrical water tanks subjected to triangular water pressure, subjected to tank, fixed base, fixed top, free top, and subjected to triangular load. So for different cases title is available, whether it is belonging to a tank with a fixed base, tank with a hinged base, what is the type of pressure, triangular loading, everything is given, figure is given, all detail H, D, T, everything is available, and also they are given the formula, coefficients are given. So from this, depending upon the case, based on the values of h square by dt, we have to take the coefficients. So this is for the calculation of moment. This is for the calculation of moment. Similarly, tables are there for calculation of tension, and also table is available for calculation of shear force, shear at the base, all these things. So one must be thorough with the use of the availability and also the use of these things. So we are going to take coefficients from this and we are going to design. Right. Right. Now we will start with the example. We will start with the numerical example. And parallelly we will learn so the operation of this takes a lot of time. Anyway, going slow is always good. Right. Now let us take up a numerical example. Right. So we will start with a simple design of a water tank. So design a reinforced concrete circular water tank with a spherical dome at the top. So we are going to design a circular tank. The roof is consisting of a spherical dome with a flexible base. So that means flexible base means the reinforcement of the side wall and the reinforcement of the base slab will be different. So they will be provided with a flexible joint at the junction. So the reinforcements will not be connected. The reinforcement of the two will be different. The connections are the things we will discuss little later. So it is so when the tank is with a flexible base, the tank will be subjected to only hoop tension. So there will be water pressure diagram is a triangle having W into H as the pressure at the bottom. So that will be acting as P in the side wall, in the circular wall. it will be acting as a lateral pressure. P into D by 2 will be the hoop tension. PD by 2. PD by 2 is the hoop tension. Right? Hoop tension PD. Right. Therefore, it will be designed only for hoop tension. When the tank is with a flexible base, it will be designed only for hoop tension. No bending moment, nothing. So we will provide hoop steel, namely circular rings, bars in the form of circular rings for the hoop tension. Vertical steel you provide for distribution, that's all. It is not subjected to any. The only force to which it is subjected to is that of the hoop tension. So the viewers need not bother about the number of steps that you are going to follow. The main force is that of the hoop tension. Right? Right. Now design a tank with a flexible base. The tank rests on the ground. The capacity of the tank is 5,80,000 liters. The depth of storage of water is to be 3.8 meters. The freeboard is 200 mm, 3.8 meter plus 200 mm. Use M25 concrete and Fe415 steel. Draw the following views. Design and drawing. So cross section of the tank and also plan showing the reinforcement details. So capacity is 5,80,000 liters. Diameter is not given. Height is given. The depth of storage of water is given 3.8 meters. So we have to find out, arrive at the diameter. Then the design that will be required will be the dome slab and the ring beam. Then side wall and that are the base slab. The tank is resting on the ground. Right. So dome slab design is new here. Side wall will be, so whatever may be the number of steps, number of pages, it will be mainly designed for only hoop tension. Hoop tension, you find out the pressure at the bottom, from which you find out the hoop tension. Hoop tension is a direct tension. Therefore, whatever is the force, force divided by stress will give you the area of steel. Will give you the area of steel. Because we know force equal to stress into area, or area equal to force divided by stress. Very simple design. So need not worry about the number of pages, or first you have to try to simplify. You must know what we are going to do. Right. The capacity of the tank is given as 5,80,000 liters. Therefore, the depth of the water is given as 3.8 meter. Freeboard is 0.2 meter. So the height of wall will be 4 meters. Height of wall is 4 meters. And other things, concrete grade, steel grade is given. Now we know the volume of the tank is 580 cubic meter. 5,80,000 liters divided by 1000 is equal to 580 meter cube. Is equal to 580 meter cube. So depth is given as 4 meters. Therefore, 580 divided by depth will give you the area, plan area. So from which you can find out the diameter. Or diameter of the tank equal to pi by 4 into, from the formula, pi by 4 into d square into h is equal to volume or capacity. Therefore, that into 3.8, because depth of water is only 3.8 meters. So 580, from which you can find out the diameter. So d square equal to 580 into 4 divided by pi into 3.8. So that will give you the diameter of the tank as 14 meters. So this is the diameter, right? Right. So this is about the dimensions. So it is a tank resting on the ground. Diameter we have got it as 4 meters. 3.8 meters is the depth of the storage of water, and 0.2 is the freeboard, on which you are going to provide a dome slab. So this is the line sketch showing the cross section of the tank. Right. Now, let us start with the design of the spherical dome. The spherical dome actually will be subjected to two types of stresses. One is the meridional thrust, the other one is the hoop stress. Meridional thrust, suppose the height of the dome is some 1.5 meter, 1.5 meter, height of the dome is suppose 1.5 meter, then when we divide the dome into number of horizontal rings of decreasing diameter, when you go, suppose the diameter of the tank is 14 meters, right, 14 meters, when you go towards the top, the diameter will go on decreasing as far as the dome is concerned. Suppose the dome is considered to be consisting of number of horizontal rings of decreasing diameter, say 5 rings. The topmost ring, let us call it as 1. The topmost ring 1 will transfer the load to the second ring. 1 and 2 will transfer the load to the third ring. 1, 2 and 3 will transfer the load to the fourth ring. Like that, compressive force will be transferred. So such a thrust is called meridional thrust. The force that is transferred from one ring to the other thing. It's a compressive force. That is called hoop, meridional thrust. The other hoop stress you can understand. So meridional thrust. So these are the two forces or stresses to which a dome will be subjected to. So the dome slab will be subjected to, will be designed for meridional thrust and hoop stress. For meridional thrust, you are going to provide the reinforcement in the radial direction from the top of the dome to the bottom of the dome. For the hoop stress, the steel will be provided in the form of horizontal rings. So for which you got the formula, you are going to design the dome. Right. Now, so before that, we have to find out the rise of the dome. The rise of the dome is 1/5 to 1/6 of the diameter. 1/5 to 1/6 of the diameter. So 14 by 5 to 14. So that is taken as 2.8 meters. 2.8 meters. Then for finding out the radius of the, because the calculation of the radius and the central angle subtended will be required for substitution in the formula for meridional thrust and the hoop stress. Therefore, the radius of the dome is required. So for calculating radius of the dome, this will be discussed in circular arches also. We will be finding out the radius and all these angles. Same thing is repeated here. If 14 meters is the diameter of the tank, 7 meters is half the diameter or half the span of the dome, and 2.8 is the height that you have assumed. Now, from the property of intersecting chords, we know, suppose we take half the length as L by 2 into L by 2, so this L by 2 into L by 2 equal to 2.8 into the remaining distance is 2 or minus YC, where YC is the central rise, 2 or minus YC is the remaining value. So L by 2 into L by 2 equal to YC into 2 or minus YC. Right. YC 2 or minus YC. Right. So that gives the radius of the dome. Radius of the dome equal to 10.15 meters. So it's a simple calculation. L by 2 equal to YC into 2 or minus YC. This is from the property of intersecting chords of a circle. Basically. Right. And from this you can find out the angle subtended, that is equal to 7 meters. Radius is the horizontal distance by radius. Radius equal to R. R we have just got it. So 7 is the opposite side. R is the hypotenuse. So 7 by R is the sine theta, is the value of sine theta. So from which you can find out the value of sine theta, because in the substitution we will require the use of sine theta as well as cos theta. Therefore find out theta, and then from which you find out the cos theta value, because the formula for meridional thrust and also the hoop stress consists of the use of cos theta. and also. So therefore we have to find out the value of cos theta. Now let us assume the thickness of the dome as 100 mm. 100 thickness of the dome is assumed as 100 mm. So self height of the dome 0.1 into 25. That means 1 meter by 1 meter. We are considering the force per square meter. Therefore 1 meter by 1 meter into 0.1 into 25. That is equal to 2.5 kilonewton per square meter. Live load on the dome is taken as 1500 kilonewton per square meter. 1.5 kilonewton per square meter or 1500 newtons. Right. So finishes 0.5 kilonewton per square meter. So total load equal to 4.5 kilonewton per square meter. Right. Now meridional thrust T equal to WR by 1 plus cos theta. Actually this is only due to the live load that is stated here. In addition, there will be a load called lantern load, which will be a concentrated load on the top of the dome. The lantern we can observe in the case of overhead tanks. In case of overhead tank, there will be a lantern for providing light to the inside. That load has to be added, and that if that load is added, there will be one more term in the formula, WR by 1 plus cos theta minus or plus some W into that indicates the lantern load. That formula is not available, not necessary here. Therefore, that term is not there. WR by 1 plus cos theta. So W is 4.5 or 10.5, 1 plus cos theta. Cos theta just now we have calculated. So that is substitute and find out the meridional thrust. Meridional thrust is a compressive force. It is a thrust. It is a thrust. So from which you find out the compressive stress. Compressive stress equal to the thrust by area. So consider 1 meter length into thickness we have assumed 100 mm. So area of cross section equal 1000 into 100. So thrust divided by area gives the value as 0.2649 Newton per mm square. Now recently we have seen the table. The stress, allowable stress for M25 concrete under direct compression is 6 Newton per mm. So therefore it is much less than 6 Newton per mm square. Therefore that indicates that it is enough if we provide only nominal reinforcement for the meridional thrust. Meridional thrust. Next is that of hoop stress. We know what is hoop stress. Hoop stress is given by this formula, WR by T. W is 4.5, R is 10.15, T is the thickness, cos theta already we have calculated. So that we have to substitute and get the value. This is the hoop stress. Hoop stress. So hoop stress so many Newton per square meter. Newton per, because we have substituted 4.5 kilonewton, or in terms of course 4.5 kilonewton multiplied by 1000 newtons, or in terms of meter. Therefore it will be in terms of Newton per square meter. Newton per square meter. And here also there is one additional term for W, that is the lantern load, that is missing here. Mostly in the case of overhead tanks that will also be accounted. Lantern load, there is a concentrated load on the top, lantern load, right. So that is also missing here. So that the viewers, when we refer the book, you need not get confused. That is also there. So many Newton per square meter. So this divided by 1000 square will be so many Newton per millimeter square. So that is about the value. So both, and hoop stress, I will tell you, up to a certain angle it will be compressive. Certain angle compressive, after which some around 51 degree, 51, I don't remember the value, around 51 degree, 51 minutes, when the value of theta is less than or equal to 51 degree, 51 minutes, if I am correct, the stress will be compressive. Beyond that, it will be tensile. So that is why I have not substituted the stress here. It is compressive only because angle is less than 51 degrees. So that is another point to be understood. So both meridional stress and hoop stress are very low compared to the permissible stresses. Therefore, the reinforcement for the dome will be nominal only. Hence, a nominal reinforcement of 0.24% of the cross-section area will be adopted. You know what is minimum reinforcement? Just we have discussed in the code book about the minimum reinforcement. So we go for 0.24%. So for 0.24 by 100 of the cross-sectional area 1000 into 10, 240 mm square, using 8 mm diameter bars, we go for say we are getting 209 mm. So we provide 8 mm diameter bars at 180 mm center to center in both directions, both meridionally as well as circumferentially, as well as, so from the top to the bottom of the dome in the direction, and also in the horizontal direction for the hoop tension. So both bars will be, because both values of stresses are very less compared to the minimum value, compared to the allowable value, therefore you go for minimum stress and minimum reinforcement. So that will be the design of the toe slab, design of the dome slab. So we will be providing both reinforcements, 180 mm center to center, 8 mm diameter bars. So next is that of the hoop tension caused in the ring beam. So the ring beam will be subjected to hoop tension. So the horizontal component of the meridional thrust equal to T into cos theta. So you can see the figure. Yes, this is the tension, that is the force, that is the thrust that is transferred in the last ring, because it is less than 90 degrees, right? If the value of T is 90 degrees, the theta is 90 degrees, then the force that is transferred on the last ring, ring number 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, like that, the force that will be transferred on the last ring will be vertical. Suppose the dome is hemisphere. It is only segmental. Therefore, it will be at an angle of inclination, at an angle of inclination of theta, right? So that theta we have calculated. So find out the horizontal component of that. So the horizontal component is given by T into cos theta. This T into cos theta will cause a hoop tension in the ring beam provided at the bottom ring beam. So T into cos theta is the ring beam, tension in the ring beam. So 19.18 kN per meter. Therefore hoop tension is equal to P into D by 2. So P is indicated as mH here. So PD by 2. PD by 2 is the hoop tension in the ring beam. So hoop tension again is a direct tension. So HT by sigma ST will give you the steel required. HT by sigma ST will give the steel required. So how many bars you are going to provide? 4 bars of 20 mm diameter as the main reinforcement for the hoop tension. So AC is the, suppose if AC is the cross-sectional area of the ring beam, we have to design the cross-sectional area of the ring beam. So M25 concrete, from the IS code book, the allowable tensile stress in concrete in the ring beam, because ring beam is not in contact with the water. So the allowables, for that you take the value from IS 456. It is given the appendix B 2.1.1 of IS 456 2000. I told that it has to be used in conjunction with the water tank code as well as RCC code we have to use. So this is not in contact with the water, therefore, so the allowable stress is 3.2 Newton per mm square. Therefore, from the relation, that is the tension divided by the area of concrete plus m minus 1 AST, that is the equivalent area of concrete. Equivalent because it consists of steel and concrete. So area of concrete plus m minus 1 times the area of steel, modular ratio minus 1 times the area of steel. So this is a familiar formula, equal to 3.2. This is the force, this is the area, this is the stress. Force divided by area will give the stress. So this HT is known. Area of concrete we are going to find out. Area of steel already we have completed. Area of steel 4 bars of 20 mm diameter. Modular ratio for a given concrete grade is known. 280 by 3 times sigma CBC, that is also known. So we can find out the area of concrete. So area of concrete is equal to 29,396 mm square. So from which you find out the size of the ring beam. Size of the ring beam is 171 point by 171. Let us assume a ring beam of size 200 mm by 200 mm. So that is about the reinforcement for the ring beam. Ring beam is designed for hoop tension. Right. So for hoop tension, steel is the T divided by sigma ST. That already we have done it. Now based on the allowable tensile stress, you find out what is the area of concrete required. So from that you find out the size of the ring beam. So normally, here we just assume 8 mm diameter, 2-legged stirrups will be provided. So nominal for the ring beam, we have provided 4 bars of 20 mm diameter. We have to provide stirrups. We just provide nominal stirrups, 8 mm diameter, 2-legged stirrups at 180 mm center to center. And already we have provided the reinforcement of the dome slab as 180 mm center to center. Therefore, the bars, the stirrups provided for the ring beam will be extended and lapped with the main reinforcement for the dome slab. That is, both are provided 180 mm center to center. Therefore, the stirrups in the ring beam will be extended and overlapped with that of the dome slab reinforcement, because both are at the same spacing. So they are just connected. So that is about the reinforcements required for the ring beam and its connection with that of the dome slab reinforcements. So that completes the design of the dome slab and also the ring beam. Dome slab and ring beam. So let us complete this lecture with this, and we'll continue the design of the main wall and other components in the next lecture. Right? Thank you. Thank you very much.